Hello viewers and welcome to Daily Politics. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy and governance. I'm Hamza Idris. Upon the expiration of a one-week ultimatum given to Niger coupists by the President Bola Tinubu-led ECOWAS to return the ousted President Mohamed Bazoum of first military action, the Adama junta remains unyielding. While both sides gradually take deterrence measures such as cutting off of diplomatic ties, power supply, border and airspace closure in the face of growing tension, the possibility of impending proxy war between the Nigeria-led ECOWAS forces and Russia backed by Nigerian military junta remains on the table amidst wider consultations and growing words of caution. This is just as war economy experts project that the Niger invasion could cost about 3 trillion naira, sever long-term diplomatic understanding, and deepen humanitarian crisis along the border states. They also believe the war will further have negative impact on the ongoing fight against insurgency in the volatile Sahel region. Already, the Nigerian Senate has turned down requests by President Tinubu to be allowed to invoke relevant section of the 1999 Constitution to restore democratic order in Niger Republic, and instead call for more diplomatic engagement for amicable resolution of the regional political crisis. Now the big questions. Will the ECOWAS succumb to the voices of wisdom and discard a needless war in Niger Republic? How could the outcome of a high-powered meeting of ECOWAS military chiefs holding in Abuja affect the current atmosphere of uncertainty? Should the military junta in Niger be allowed to get away with the affront on democracy? What are the available options? And to discuss this and more, we have in the studio Dr. Umar Ardo, a seasoned politician and international affairs commentator. He has also taught at the Nigerian Defense Academy, and his line of interest is political history. Welcome to our program, Doctor.
Thank you, Hamza.
We're happy having you. But before the discussion proper, let's take a look at some tidbits in the political scene. The Senate had a rowdy session today where Festus Keyamo was vigorously grilled by the senators there, to the extent that Senate President had to go to the presidential villa, had a tete-a-tete with President Bola Tinubu, and then returned to the Senate where they carried on with the conversation. Yes, Doctor, welcome. I think before we start the main topic of the day, maybe to have your take on the grilling of Festus Keyamo. It appeared different from others. I'm sure maybe you have monitored how the senators approach quite a number of controversial issues, but that of Festus was unprecedented. They asked him many questions that he slighted them at a certain time. The House of Reps invited him to go and defend some of his actions and inactions while serving as minister. He rebuffed them and all that, and therefore he should not be confirmed.
Yeah, if you follow the antecedents of Festus Keyamo, SAN, especially during the Muhammad Buhari regime, he's been very belligerent with the National Assembly. Oh. I know severally they invited him. Not only did he not come, but he didn't have kind words, towards them. But my worry is that why is it that the motion for his against him was moved by Senator Abaribe from the Southeast, and it was also seconded. No, was it Senator Okocha or Omocha?
Yeah.
Southeastern Senator?
Darlington.
Yes. Yeah. Who moved the motion and Abaribe seconded, or is it Abaribe that moved it? But
Abaribe seconded,
yes,
exactly.
It's that zone.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether it has some kind of regional outlook. Maybe there is a problem between the Southeast, and then the Delta region of
Nigeria,
the South.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, I think we should not allow personal issues, to override national issues. Exactly. So I hope they will clear him.
Incidentally,
he's the only minister in the Buhari regime that has been brought back, into the cabinet by Bola Tinubu's regime. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong.
I think you are right, because I can't see any other one. Of course,
not
it's the
any
most
other
yes, biggest in size. Yeah. The ministers, and even him, it was actually after a series of bullying, let me put it, because there was cyber bullying against him. He stood firmly with Tinubu during the election, even though he was serving as minister, but he was unrelenting in protecting Tinubu against cyber attacks and all that.
Yeah.
And during the first list, his name was not there. I really pity the man, Doctor, because yes, the social media warriors, they descended on him and said, okay, you took the whole of your energy to Tinubu, and you were not even grateful during Buhari, because during the valedictory session, you said that there was nothing like a minister of state, meaning you are not grateful. So you are now being paid in your own coin. Yeah, it was really funny. But beyond this, how satisfied are you with the drilling of the ministerial nominees?
Well, these things, they've already decided these things long before they were sent to the Senate. It's all the same clique. It's all, this one is in the executive and this one in the legislature. They have already discussed this thing, before coming to the Senate. So there wasn't much grilling, and even those who you will rather think that they should not, be cleared, they have been cleared.
Yeah.
So many of them ought not to be cleared, but they have been cleared. So I just don't want to discuss all this.
Exactly. I know you're not ready for that discussion, but
yeah,
of course, part of the issues of the day. But do you see them performing? I mean, despite, we have a lot of expectation.
It all depends on the president himself.
Okay, it's about the president.
All depends on the president himself. If the president leads by example,
yes,
then we will have results. Those who call for sacrifice, and the president has been calling for sacrifice.
All right.
Those who call for sacrifice must be seen sacrificing themselves. Because if you do not sacrifice and you call for sacrifice, nobody will listen to you. So leadership is actually by example. If the president is sincere in his leadership, then we will have results. But if he is there in order to satisfy vested interests, then we are going to have, we will just continue, with the sleaze that has been Nigerian leadership since the Obasanjo left office.
Oh my God, I hope we get it right. Because we'll take a short break, and when we return, the conversation of the day, war in Niger, or impending war in Niger, commences. Don't go away. Welcome back. Yes, we have Dr. Umar Arbo. You taught at the Nigeria Defense Academy, and you know a lot. And that is your area of interest, as I said at the introductory part of this conversation, political history. Now, this issue in Niger, let's start with the coup, and then the action of the ECOWAS. Do they have the right to do what they did?
Okay, for you to understand the actions of the coupists in Niger, you need to take the background, understand the background of the Nigerian politics. Muhammad Yusuf led Niger as president for a period of about 10 years.
Okay.
And after the expiration of 2 terms of 10 years, he inclined himself towards continuing. He had a prime minister, Hama Amadou,
yes,
who also had eye for the presidency. And Hama Amadou was very popular with the Nigerian people. And so Hama refused to support the position of his president towards, elongating
his
their
tenure.
leadership.
Yeah.
Yes. So then, in connivance with France and with the defunct Buhari administration, Muhammad Yusuf now brought in Mohamed Bazoum.
Oh.
So
Nigeria had a hand in in
Mohamed Yusuf brought in Mohamed Bazoum, and then Hama Amadou was not happy.
Okay.
And Hama Amadou started opposing it and trying to contest whether or not he had the support of the president. So while in France for a visit, they charged him on, it was actually a trump-up charge, I believe.
Okay.
They charged him on, I think, not kidnapping, abduction or something of a girl.
Okay.
And he was sentenced in absentia.
Wow.
He was convicted in absentia. And so he could not come back.
Contest.
And also, he was outlawed from contesting.
Wow.
And that was how Bazoum came in. And so he opposed Bazoum even at that. So when they did the first round of election, Bazoum did not win.
Bazoum did not win?
No. So they had to go for a second round of election.
Meaning he was very popular?
Yeah, even at that. Mahamadou was very popular. So even at that, Bazoum did not win convincingly. So quickly, they worked for a government of national unity, bringing this political party, bringing that political party. They did not go well with majority of the Nigerian people. And that was why there was an attempt to halt the inauguration of Mohamed Bazoum by the military. There was a coup plot to halt that inauguration. And so it was foiled by the support of France and the Nigerian government.
So Nigeria keeps playing a role.
Nigeria keeps playing a role. I know for a fact that Mohamed Bazoum's rappers, these campaign rappers, they were printed here in Nigeria by one of the main cabal members of the Buhari regime. About, I think, 200,000 rappers, sent over. So they campaigned for Mohamed Bazoum.
And this is what is in the open. Nobody knows.
I know for a fact.
Yeah.
So these things, they form the base of the politics in Nigeria. And this had been simmering until it got to the head last week when the military now removed Mohamed Bazoum. So this formed the basis of the local politics. So until you get the politics, the dynamics of the politics of a people, you cannot just come to a conclusion like that. Then secondly, the ECOWAS country, like Senegal. Now, I was in Senegal in 2012 when Macky Sall was contesting against Abdoulaye Wade, along with other 9 candidates. Macky Sall said then that it was 7-year tenure. Macky Sall said he was going to amend the constitution, put it to 5-year tenure and two terms maximum.
Yes.
And he did. Now they're changing the constitution in order to continue to elongate his tenure. Now, does that portray us to be Democrats?
Vulnerable people.
Yeah. You can see the main opposition candidate, that young man, is it Sogo or something like that, was jailed.
Oh, he was also jailed. Yeah.
He was also jailed. Yesterday I saw the parliament said, okay, they have opened the contest for everybody in order to justify the continuation of Macky Sall. But if you don't know, you will think that Macky Sall is just being democratic. Then look at Togo.
Yes.
Iadema. How many years has the man been there?
Wow.
14 years. His father had been there for 30-something years.
Oh my God.
He's been there for 14 years. Then Equatorial Guinea. The man has been there for years, and so, look, we just don't have a universal definition of democracy.
Especially in Africa.
Yeah. Even in the old days, Chinese call their democracy people's democracy. America and the West call their own liberal democracy. Even Mobutu Sese Seko said his government was democratic. So, you don't go to war on ideological difference. Because I have my ideology, you have your ideology, and then you said you are going to war in order to enforce your ideology over my ideology. That is wrong.
Now, I say Nigeria is wrong for taking this.
ECOWAS is wrong.
But Nigeria is actually seen as ECOWAS.
ECOWAS and Nigeria, they are wrong in taking such a position. Why? Because it contravenes the provision of United Nations Charter, which prohibits member states from interfering in internal affairs of another member state.
Okay.
It encourages, like Article 3, it encourages, in fact, demands that a conflict be resolved through diplomatic means or other means against the use of aggression. Article 3 of the African Union also forbids the interference in the internal affairs of another country. It forbids the use of force, on a member country. And I don't know any protocol within the within the ECOWAS that sanctions, that you can use force in order to enforce your view on another country based on the internal affairs of that country, so long as that affair is not a security threat to the rest of the continent, or to the neighbor, or to the other country that wants to attack its neighbor. So a coup in a country like Niger cannot be said to constitute a threat, a security threat.
And that is the question I wanted to ask, whether it has any threat to Nigeria.
It doesn't.
But what about the ripple effect, Doctor? That is your area, political history. You know that if something happened, let me say in Nasarawa, the tendency is that there will be spillover in either Benue or in Plateau. If it is in Adamawa, there is a tendency that it will touch maybe Gombe or Taraba State.
No two things on this earth are exactly the same. Everything is based on issues that happen there that precipitate them to happen.
So you think the coup in Niger may not necessarily precipitate or give some energy to soldiers in Nigeria to say, okay, let's also give it a try?
At all, except if the variables that happen in Niger also happen in Nigeria, or happen in Guinea-Bissau, or happen in Ghana, or any of the ECOWAS member states. So I am not for military rule. I oppose military rule in its entirety. But at the same time, the only solution to military rule is good governance. Democracy must be able to advance the interests of the generality of the people. It must be able to benefit the people. Where democracy benefits only its practitioners, then that democracy is bound to fail. And we have had failed democracies across the world. And besides, democracies fail not necessarily by military coup alone.
Okay, there are other variables.
There are other variables. For example, like what we are having in Senegal. It's a failure of democracy. Like what we have in Togo. It's a failure of democracy. Like what we have in Equatorial Guinea. It's a failure of democracy.
But
and there are no military coups there.
Just justify military takeover?
Nothing justifies military takeover, but also nothing justifies the invasion of another sovereign state by another sovereign state.
Okay, I want to get this clear, because the letter Tinubu sent to the National Assembly to allow him invoke some relevant sections so that he can now also lead Nigerian troops, together with the ECOWAS to go and restore democracy in Nigeria. Is that correct? And is that what he meant?
Well, from the information I have not seen the Senate President read out the letter. I don't know whether you have seen it, whether you have heard the contents of the letter, but I have it on good authority that President Tinubu didn't send a letter requesting the Senate to approve for the use of force. One, the use of force itself must have to be sanctioned by ECOWAS. That meeting by ECOWAS to do so has not taken place.
Yeah, during the meeting of the ECOWAS Security Committee.
Yeah, then two, the president later was said to have just informed the Senate the decision, the resolution of the ECOWAS heads of government. So it wasn't actually telling the Senate, approve for me to send
only that when we read what was read by Senate President, the last option there was that if economic blockade, and all
everything fails. That is the resolution.
Yes.
It is the resolution of the ECOWAS heads of state that was sent to the Senate for their information only, not for them to approve for him to.
Meaning that many
and
Nigerians...
besides, it's not just the Senate that has powers to resolve on the issue of approve the issue of war. It's the National Assembly in a joint session.
Also, Senate in isolation cannot do that.
Senate in isolation cannot do that. The National Assembly as a whole should have to sit in a joint session. That's the provision of our Constitution.
Is it that some people maybe out of mischief misled Nigerians to now, because the perception is that Tinubu is eager to go to war?
Well, it will not be in his best interest and in the best interest of Nigeria. From what I have deciphered,
yes,
both in the conventional media, in the social media, in talks across groups and so on, the general view of people is against military intervention in Niger. And if democracy includes consultations with the citizenry, this is good enough. The Nigerian people are democratic. They said they don't want that. And if you can take a referendum today, I can guarantee you 90% at least of northern Nigeria.
Okay, at least 90%
will not approve of that. Why? Because Nigeria and Niger, we are virtually one and the same, especially in northern Nigeria. Who are the ethnic nationalities in Niger? The Hausa, the Fulani, the Bari-Bari, the Zabarmawa, and so on. These are the ethnic groups in Nigeria. So we share,
common
identity, common geography, common ecology, common history, and common heritage. And Niger had always supported Nigeria from independence. During the civil war in Nigeria, in spite of the fact that France was in support of Biafra, and France had cajoled its African colonies to support Biafra, people, the countries like Cote d'Ivoire that are talking today, countries like Senegal, countries like Gabon, countries like Togo, they were all in countries like Cameroon. They were all in support of Biafra.
Wow. They wanted Biafra to go.
Yeah, Niger singled itself out and supported Nigeria.
Wow.
That was why immediately after Gabon had to go there for a thank you. So
I've seen people have excavated those photos and songs and all that Nigeria and Niger one and the same.
Yeah.
Whatever touches Nigeria, touches Niger and all that.
So we cannot, hit our friends.
Then is it that the leaders we have now in power have lost touch with history, or they are not directly connected? Because I was discussing with someone, he said, look, for you to understand this is to ask someone living in maybe Maiduguri or in Yola or in Gombe to give you his take on what is happening around Bakassi or in Enugu. There is disconnect.
Yeah.
He may not have this direct affinity with what is happening there. And that is why maybe some people who are in power now, they don't have this direct affinity with some of us in northern part of Nigeria, and therefore some are saying go and teach Niger a lesson.
No, I believe the president means well for the country. I don't think that he will just want to plunge the country into...
Maybe to prove himself as ECOWAS leader.
No, he didn't need to do that in order to prove himself as ECOWAS leader, because he wouldn't know what will be the outcome of it. We should not turn our place into a theater of a proxy war for the world global powers. Already, the consequences are this. One, ECOWAS will disintegrate. Already, the military-prone countries, Guinea, Mali, Burkina Faso, are in support of Niger. We have Sudan up there,
which is in war,
which is a neighbor of Niger, military regime, and they are likely to go, Niger side. Algeria had already taken a decision to support Niger, and I saw on the papers, whether it's true or not, I don't know, Egypt, which is the most powerful military country in Africa, would support Niger.
They're more powerful than us?
So, of course, Egypt, So, we cannot afford to have that in Africa. Then the Nigerian people, government, the junta there, they are forced to go and look for external help. And I saw, whether it's true or not, that they have signed an agreement, with Wagner, an international mercenary that can come and destabilize us. We know what they are doing in Mali or so, which is not in our best interest. So I believe very strongly that the president means very well, but he may not have all the facts with him. And if he has the facts, then there is nothing for you. If you make a mistake, you say, okay, this is a mistake. We are correcting it.
Okay.
What ECOWAS, the president and ECOWAS, they need to do to save face for everybody.
Yes.
Is to come to a transitional agreement with the Nigerian authority. Let the Nigerian government make a transition program and then conduct election and hand over. We have done it before. We have done it in Nigeria 2 times. Many countries did it in West Africa, in the West African sub-region itself, in ECOWAS member states. They did it. So, but for you to insist
on using force,
that we will have to return this person that been removed and use force to do so, or you should reinstate him, and then outside the reinstatement we will use force. I don't think it is best in the best interest of this country and the sub-region.
Thank you very much, Doctor. We'll go on a break, and when we return, I will allow you to shed more light on these. Viewers, don't go away. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. If you are just joining, you are watching Daily Politics on Trust TV. You will follow us across all our social platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and watch us live on YouTube. I still have in the studio Dr. Umar Ardo. He's a political historian who also taught at the Nigeria Defense Academy. He knows the implication of war and all that. Before we went on break, you were talking about having a transition instead of this knee-jerk approach. Don't you think the economic blockage imposed on Niger will do the magic? Like the closure of the Nigerian border, we have cut their electricity, and many others, even though they have also fired back with closing their airspace, and it has started telling on Nigeria. Yeah.
Well, Niger borders, I think, 7 or 8 countries.
Yeah.
So it borders Mali, it borders Burkina Faso, it borders Chad, it borders Sudan, it borders Algeria, it borders Nigeria. So those countries, the closure of borders of Nigeria and maybe 1 or 2 would not have much, effect on them if they get the cooperation of the other countries. So the regime can remain in office for a very long time.
Wow. I mean, we may end up paying more, in terms of the sanction, because I heard that the blockage of the airspace has started telling on even airfares from Nigeria.
Because you have to divert.
Yes, you have to divert.
Yeah.
And all.
And even more importantly is the cutting of the power supply to Niger. This was a bilateral agreement between Nigeria and Niger. It is not an ECOWAS affair.
Wow.
It is done in order for what happened with the Benue River will not happen with the Niger River.
Oh.
In the Benue River, if you go, when we were kids,
yes,
ships, vessels were plying from the Atlantic Ocean to come to Lokoja, to go to Ibi, from Ibi to Lau, from Lau to Numan, from Numan to Yola, from Yola it goes to Garwa, with
big ships,
containers, loading and offloading. But when Cameroon came and built the Lagdo Dam at the head of the Benue, the water level was shut down.
Oh my God.
And then the Benue dried up. Trillions have been lost. Now, with the drying up of the Benue, the tributaries of the Benue, such as Gongola River, Taraba River, Donga River, Katsina Ala River, Mau Ine River, Mau Kala River, they all dried up, thereby drying up the interior.
Wow.
And so agricultural activities have been affected. So now, if in retaliation, Niger said they are blocking the Niger River and building a dam at the Niger River, that will halt the free flow of the Niger River, which will affect Jeba, would affect Kaenji, would affect Hadeja, Jamare River Basin Authority. It will be catastrophic.
If I understand what you are saying, it's like Nigeria stands to lose more than Niger if this problem escalates. Of
course. There's absolutely no doubt about that on account of the Niger River. And don't forget, countries even go to war on these kind of things. The war between Egypt and Ethiopia was on the issue of the Nile. Countries open up canals where there is no river. We have a river given us by nature, yet we are trying to play politics that will give problems, in that river. That of the Benue had already been disrupted. So if the Niger is done, then we are sunk. So I don't think this is well thought out. It is not just about, okay, you can go ahead and let us just assume that ECOWAS will go ahead and go and deal with Niger, and they can deal with Niger. How many soldiers do the Nigerians have?
Only that the Wagner
13,000, 14,000. But they will bring other countries, and then it becomes. So we go together, we go out, we go and remove that, and then we return Bazoum. They will now retreat, and then we are going to have guerrilla warfare. So it means that Nigeria must have to station its troops
but
to maintain that regime for years.
Is Nigeria ready, and by extension ECOWAS, for humanitarian crisis that will come up with this adventure?
Already we have nearly 300,000 refugees of Nigeria from the Boko Haram and insurgency in Nigeria, in Niger. About 300,000. They are going to be the first casualties. The Nigerian refugees. So we have to take all these things, into account. And the government did what it ought to do. It sent a high-powered delegation led by General Abdul Salam, former head of state, yes. And His Eminence.
But Doctor, you know that they were stopped at the airport. They were not allowed. They sent a lonely officials.
They were not stopped at the airport.
Okay, what happened?
Now, when they went, of course, the Nigerian junta planned for them. They mobilized sea of people. And so when they came, they said, we are going to hold our meeting at the airport.
Okay.
They organized a place at the airport. They did not see the head of state. They did not see the number 2 man, who is actually the power behind the coup. But they saw the number 3 general. And the number 2 man was not in the country. He was in Conakry.
That time?
Yes, when they came. They are also running around. They were in Algeria, even before Baba Gana Kingibe went to Algeria, to curry favor. They were in Conakry. They were in Mali. They've been going around. So when they came, the delegation said, okay, we are messengers. We were sent by our president, the chairman of ECOWAS. We brought you the resolution of ECOWAS. They collected the resolution. They said that after the coup, at least the chairman of ECOWAS should have called. What happened? Why are you people taking over power? What is the problem?
Okay, to ask questions.
To ask questions. Nobody called them. Nobody talked with them. Even the meeting of ECOWAS, they were not formally invited. They just saw it was done, and then the resolution was passed.
So they were condescendingly treated.
Yeah, this was the first time they were seeing the resolution. So, and they explained to the team why they did what they did. The issues involved, they were not heard. And you must hear the other side. This is principle of natural justice. So now they came back, they said, okay, we will give our response to this resolution. If you will only come, collect our response, maybe in 7 days, and then return, and then submit it to the chairman of ECOWAS, who will study it, and on the basis of it, will invite the other ECOWAS head of states, and then deliberate on this response. And if they think there is any way they can, it will change their position, they can change their position. If not, then they will take it up from there. Wow. So we still have, this is a diplomatic move, yes. And it is good. And we can solve this problem diplomatically. But for me, and I know for so many Nigerians, let us put, the military option off the table.
But is the Nigerian military prepared to go to Niger and fight?
Nigerian military can go to Niger and fight because Nigerian military is a whole lot larger. The Nigerian armed forces, they are less than 7%.
But we'll be fighting
of the total number.
But we'll be fighting Boko Haram for over a decade.
Yeah, the Boko Haram is a guerrilla war, but this one is to move to Miami, remove them, and then bring this. This is a stationary thing. They can
so
do.
The circumstances are different.
They can do that. That is if left between ECOWAS forces and the Nigerian forces.
But will they be able to confront the Wagner mercenaries?
We don't know. We don't know other than the Wagner. We don't know what Mali will do. We don't know what Guinea will do. We don't know what Burkina Faso will do. We don't know what Algeria. We don't know how this thing will turn out. And in this heightened Cold War between the East and the West, between the United States and NATO on the one hand, and then Russia, China, and the other on the other hand, this will just be a theater of war, because Russia will not sit down and allow France and the United States, but that will be interpreted as NATO influence,
yes,
to come and change this thing like that using ECOWAS. They will not sit down and watch. They will come in one way or the other, and we don't know where it will escalate. Let them go and do their war in Europe.
Yes,
Let them go and do their war in South China.
Yes. But Doctor, can we assume that these warriors are actually trying to use Niger as a testing ground in Africa?
It is
especially Niger, that is so close to Nigeria, and Nigeria is actually the darling of every other person.
It is not an impossibility. So because of this suspicion, we should tread carefully.
All right.
We should ensure that there is no war in this sub-region. Let us just resolve our internal problems. Internal problems of Boko Haram, internal problems of IPOD, internal problem of Fulani, banditry, internal problem of this. Let us solve it. Let us solve our economic problems. The Naira has gone down.
Yeah.
Today, when we were kids, in fact, just a few years ago, when we go to Cameroon, we were kings. With 1 Naira,
when you go to Cameroon?
Yeah, we were kings. With 1 Naira, Cameroonians will just be coming to us and greeting us.
Wow.
Now Cameroonians are just mocking us. The CFA is stronger than the Naira.
Oh my God.
And so our economy has collapsed. Our country is in problems. Yes, we want democracy.
It's just the size in terms of population,
yeah,
I think.
We want democracy. But we must see democracy to be, benefiting our people. We must see democracy to be building our economy. We must see democracy to be giving us security. We must see democracy to be building our education, our children, and our future. When democracy is seen to be, not benefiting these our people, not benefiting our children, not benefiting us educationally, economically, security-wise, then there's going to be a big question on the benefit of democracy by our people.
Yeah, Doctor, you know that President Tinubu is in court, the tribunal, with other opposition politicians trying to, justify why he shouldn't be the president. And from indications, the United States is also interested in what is happening in Niger, just the way France is interested. How do you think Tinubu can navigate his way without injuring maybe the feelings of US? I know we are an independent country and nobody should, touch our internal issues, but how can he remain safe in the midst of these warmongers and all that?
Just by satisfying the needs of Nigerians. If the president and his regime will satisfy the needs of Nigerians, Nigerians will mobilize to support him.
They will protect him.
They will
also
protect the regime. They will support the regime. They will defend the regime against not only the United States, but against all other powers. But if he doesn't do that, then he will be open.
And as we speak now, you believe that generality of Nigerians are not in tune with the tone of events now. The sanction and all that.
Well, two things. One, the removal of the fuel subsidy, in spite of everything that is said of it, that it is in the best interest of Nigerians, the poor people on the ground don't see that. A bag of rice is now selling at 50-something thousand. A bag of maize is selling at 40-something thousand. It doesn't really matter if a bag of rice sells even 200,000. If the earning powers
of the Nigerians,
of people, also grows up incommensurately. But where inflation is high and means of earning is low, then people will revolt. Ted Gore, the founder of criminology, he said that when expectations are high and results are low, man tend to rebel. So that aspect of the economic policy is hitting hard on our people.
Yeah.
Hunger, starvation, deprivation have moved in, and our people have become destitute. So they will not listen to anything.
Yeah.
You imagine that is hungry. You cannot say, oh, wait, I will solve your problem tomorrow.
A hungry person is an angry person. But can we say it's a distraction? You know, Nigerian leaders are really good. You know, their propensity to divert attention is unprecedented. Maybe this Nigerian issue is to divert the attention of Nigeria. I can see, and you have seen it also, that people don't really even talk about some of the difficulties now. Everyone is talking about Niger.
No. It's only the elite that are talking about Niger.
Okay.
The poor, they are talking about hunger.
That is their problem.
That is their problem. I can guarantee you they don't care what happens in Niger. They don't care whether we invade Niger or we don't invade Niger. They are hungry. And you cannot tell a hungry man, just wait until tomorrow I will solve your problem. You don't wait on hunger. And our people are hungry. And that should be the major target. I wrote an article a few weeks or so ago, how the president is supposed to solve the problem of a failed state.
Okay. But are we a failed state already?
Of course we are a failed state. A failed state is a state that law and order authority has collapsed. And authority has collapsed. If we cannot solve even the simple traffic problems on the street, the traffic issues on the street, how do we solve more complex social issues?
Like the Naira devaluation.
Like the Naira devaluation, which has
energy crisis.
Everything. So we need to solve these problems, and we don't need. If this in Niger is a diversion on the government itself. It's diverting the government from doing what it ought to do.
Yeah, and then now, how should ECOWAS approach this? More so that the president has summoned meeting on Thursday. What do you think they should do now?
I think ECOWAS and the president should give the Nigerian junta a leeway.
Okay.
Let them come to a negotiated solution.
Okay.
It shouldn't be a one way, that it is either this way or no way.
The knee-jerk approach should be discarded.
No, it should. We should give a negotiated approach to this and say, look, maybe we give you 1 year, we give you 2 years, or come up with a timetable. How are you going to let them say, okay, how are you going to solve this problem? Because there is a problem.
A big one. So
let the Nigerian authority come up with their own input in how to solve it. That way, we will all have
peace.
We will all have peace. The problem will be solved, and nobody's face, will be scared.
And one big question that has not been asked, and I'm asking now, why is it that when there was coup in Mali, in Guinea, and all that, this option of going to invade the country did not arise, but Niger?
Well, that of Mali, there were a lot of crises. In Mali, the jihadists and rebels were fighting, and this. So when the coup took place, it was said that the civilians were unable to handle it, and the military will do so. And somehow they intervened, and then the leader of the coup, stepped down. But later he had to stage a second coup again, seeing that there are other areas that were left undone.
Yeah.
So the situation in Niger, although we know that it's been simmering because of the prime minister's case, which I earlier stated,
exactly.
Although we knew it was simmering, but truthfully, I did not expect that there was going. I thought things have been, resolved. At least Bazoum have been able to bring all sort of people. There are 2 presidential candidates in Niger that were my friends. They came to my house, and I supported even one. Which so they were all brought into government. This one minister of this one minister of that. And so we thought everything was okay. unknown to us that
something is actually
something
brewing.
was
Finally,
brewing.
because we're running out of time, what do you think northern leaders should do? Of course, various groups, ACF, Jamaatul Nasri, they have all spoken against.
Everybody
this.
has spoken.
Then, yeah, what about the governors? Because from Sokoto to Borno, about 6 or 7 states will all be affected. So what do you think they should do as a common front to
I think they should impress on the president, the chairman of ECOWAS, to come up with a negotiated
a workable solution. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
For the junta there.
All right.
They should make sure that force is not used, because if it is done, you cannot use unconstitutional means in order to achieve or solve an unconstitutional act.
Two wrongs can never be right.
Two wrongs can never be right.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Umar Ardo, for coming to our program, and we thank you very much for your informed perspective on this silent issue. Glad to have you again.
Thank you very much.
And viewers, that's a wrap. Thanks for watching. Join us tomorrow for another interesting package. For now, bye-bye. I'm Hamza Idris.